Good afternoon, Code Simplifier tribes. Behzad is here with another video tutorials for beginner programmers. In our previous video, we installed MySQL on our system. And in today's video, we are going to learn about database basics, some terms that we are going to use a lot in this course, what we are going to build, and build our first database. Here are the things we are going to learn by end of this course. We will learn how to creating a database, how to create tables, inserting and updating our tables, and export our tables information into an Excel spreadsheet. Here is one example of what you are going to export. So I exported my information from one table to an Excel spreadsheet, and here is the outcome of your work. So let's learn about the theories, and then we will move on to our practical side. We are going to learn about tables, about primary keys, foreign keys, and data type or entities. The first one is a table. Basically, table is a box that holds some information in it. For example, your student account. The primary key is a unique ID of something. For instance, your student ID is a primary key. Foreign key is a primary key which has been used in another table. And the last one is data type or entity. Is a type of data that we are going to store in database. Generally is people, things, location, and events. These are just broad explanation of the terms that we are going to use. Here is an example of a database. As you can see, database is a big box that keeps some small boxes inside it. And each of these small boxes called tables. And each table is connected to another table that we are calling relationship. At the end, each table has name which represents the table and information held inside it. When you run your MySQL, here is the first thing that you will see. In the left sidebar, we can see three options. Here are three options. The first one is database, which is a default startup. The second one is modules, that we do not have any modules yet, but we will learn about it. And the third one is about migration, that we are not using it in this course. Root is a default server in our MySQL Workbench. It has a password which we set up when we installed MySQL on our system. So go ahead and enter your password here, and then we will be directed into the Workbench area that we are going to write our codes into it. Let's take a quick tour around our workspace. The first one on our left is where we can see our databases that we created. Obviously here we have only one. Here is the space that we are going to write our query in it. If the query doesn't make sense to you, it's simple word. Query is the code that we are going to write database codes in it. The bottom one here is where I call it communication window. Obviously you will see error or anything the code has been executed, you can see it here. And the last part is the result window, which you cannot see it because we don't have anything yet. And if I want to show you the result window, it will be here. This is the result window. As you see, it gives us the information that the code has been executed. The first step is creating a database, or in other words, a big box to hold some tables or small boxes inside it. So go ahead and do it. Just come down to your coding area, write down create database, and we call it MySQL. Give it some space. I just click on it, and here is the communication table that it gives you the database has been created. Obviously you do not see it inside your schema or database sections. You need to refresh it. Just click on refresh, and here is the MySQL database that you have created. Before we going ahead, I need to remind you that this is not the database that we are going to create. This is an experimental exercise to help you understand the structure and how things are working. So basically we are going to learn about the system, the area that we are going to work on, and we can use that knowledge in order to create our final database. We created our database. Now we need to ask MySQL to use the database that we are created it and apply changes onto it. On your left hand side, when you see the first database that I already had on my system is highlighted, that means that database currently is in use. To use the desired database, we need to write down this code. Use MySQL and execute a code. As you see here, the MySQL has been highlighted. That means that database in use now. Next thing, it would be creating a table inside our database, give it a name and some data. Each table needs to have at least one row and one value that represent the primary key. So let's get into it. We need to create table. We call it school. And here open up the parentheses and semicolon. Inside this parentheses, we need to give a rows or values that is identify the table. So we call it school name, space, we call it varchar, and don't worry about it right now. I will explain it to you in a second. What is it? Then you're giving a comma. So I'll explain to you what happened here. We are going to create a table inside our database. We name it the table school. So this is the row 1 that has a school name. Row 2 is phone. Row 3 is address. And the last one which identified what is the primary key inside this table. And we used our school name. Varchar, what is a varchar? Varchar means variable character. In other words, we are giving a length to the user to enter the name of the school. And in this case, we are accepting 30 characters as a school name. And if it's going over than 30, the name won't be accepted. And if it's less, it will be accepted. The second part is not null. That means this value cannot be left blank. That means the user needs to enter something as a school name. Same thing happens for phone. Because the phone has a fixed length, that's why we're using char or character. And the length of the phone is 10 characters that user must enter. Same rules apply. Not null, that means this field cannot be left blank. The address is varchar because address could be different from each other. That's why we accept it as a varchar. And as I said, the primary key of this table is going to be the school name. And the engine is InnoDB that I am not going to explain it right now because it will confuse you. When we are going to insert data into a table, we must insert data based on our rows. For example, in our school table, we have 3 rows: school name, phone, and address. That means we need to insert 3 sets of data to represent the table school. Let's do it. So we write down insert into school and values, parentheses. The first one is representing in what row, what value that we are going to insert. So our first one is going to be school name, copy and paste it, comma. Second one is going to be phone, copy, paste it. And the third one, it will be address. And here the address. So this is the 3 items that we need to insert value. So single quotation, first value, second value, and a third value. The first one is going to represent the school name. We call it cool school. Second row is going to be phone. We call it 08 1 2 3 4 5. So let's 2 6 8 is 10. And here we identified we need to insert 10. And here the first one was varchar 30, but we use less than 12 character, which that is fine for now. The address will be 123 Cool Street, Cool City. So I just want to delete this one to be safe. Here we got an error. Table MySQL doesn't exist. Sorry, we had to execute the code first. Now the table has been created. Insert the data into it, and everything is running smoothly. So now select everything from school. Let's see the result, and here's the result. So let's break it down what we've done. The first step was creating a database. Using the database that we created, or in fact is a big box. Then the next step, we created a small box called tables inside our big boxes, and we name a table. And that table has 3 items inside it: school name, phone, address. And the primary key is just represent the identifier of the table, so you're not worried about it. The last step, we're inserting some data inside the school table. As I mentioned, based on how many items or rows you have in each table, you must insert values based on those. For instance, here we have 3 items or 3 rows in our school table. We must insert 3 sets of data. If we're inserting 2 or 4, we will get an error. It must be representing what is going on. Then the school name, we gave a name to it. The phone, we gave a phone value to it. And the last one was the address. The last step, we select everything from the school table. Basically, select everything from the school table is reading all the information inside the school table that already we have. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. As per usual, if you do have any question, please write it down in the comment section below and I'll respond to it as quick as I can. In our next video, we are going to learn more in details about database, how to create a proper database, and how to apply those information inside the real work that we are going to get by end of these courses. Thanks for your time and watching. I will see you all next week.